Yo players, it's your Elsama playing just one more hour to bring you another guide video. In this video, I'm going to be explaining how Ossorcerer works from her passives to playstyle. Before I start this video, be sure to scroll down, press that like button, and smack that subscribe button for more gaming content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. As when it comes to gameplays, guides, and other things about gaming, this channel will provide. Another thing I want to say, guys, this is just going to be a little quick disclaimer. This video is going to be long, so probably it'd be the best thing to just plug in some earbuds and yeah, just listen to it while doing whatever you want to do. Yeah, anyways, this is L, getting back to the video. So now, Ossorcerer, what is she? Alright, so she is the second pass, third job for Aisha. She uses dark magic, and she has a familiar called Anger. So, she's really good offensively and supportively, but she lacks any sort of defense, and I'd say that she is the most mobile Aisha due to a certain skill that we will review. Alright, so first off inside of this guide, we will go over the passives of our sorcerer, but beginning with Dark Magician. Her first passive is kind of a mediocre passive. Only Aether Sage and Ossorcerer have a passive that boosts their whatever projectile they use. Ossorcerer uses Gravity Balls and it buffs the damage by 40%, which is the XXXX combo, the last combo, and the Jump X combo, and the Dash Jump X combo. Now, her second passive is one that I like it a lot. It's a good passive for me since I like saving MP, because more MP means more skills. So, her second passive is Shadow's Contract. It grants a chance to recover MP when using special actives or active skills. And basically what this is, it has a 3-second cooldown if you guys did not know. Basically what that means is, for active skills, it has a 25% chance of giving you back 20% MP from an active skill. For special actives, it's a 50% chance. So I really like this passive because whenever I'm using these high-cost braveries, it's pretty much like if I use it, then it gives me back MP equal to if I had a light trait. So that's really good, and it works while you're memorizing your skills. Now we got a really good passive. Deathly Shadow. What it does is it makes so that command and active skills have a chance to ignore the enemy's defense. Now, if you did not know, Ossorcerer's actives do the least amount of damage of any class I've ever seen, but once we get Ossorcerer, this passive evolves to become a beast, so be sure to look out for that. Next passive is one of her best passive, Energy Discharge. Basically what it does is, whenever you awaken, depending on how many beads you get, that's how much MP you get. For example, if I had 0 MP, and I awakened with 3 beads, then it would give me 250 MP. I would have 250 MP, and my max MP would increase by 250. So that means that basically 300 MP would go to 550 MP. It's really good, plus whenever you're inside of Awakening, you get 2.5 natural MP gain increase when awakening. Now on to Transcendence. We got our first passive, Awakening Will of Void Princess. Remember how I said that the Shadow's Contract passive basically is a light trait, right? Well, this passive is light trait plus, what's the trait that, I forgot the name of the trait that reduces cooldown, but let me check a skill that has it real quick. It's called the Haste trait. So it gives you haste and light trait for free. Basically what it does is if you have no enemies in range of it's 400, which let me just say that 400 units is not a big amount of range. You can just be away from them just by a little bit, and it gives you light trait and MP cost decrease. Skills like Aging, Plasma Cutter, and long range skills like that are going to get buffed. And this does affect the hyperactive, not the cooldown reduction, only the MP cost reduction. Next we got Void Mistress. This passive is really good. What it does is it makes up the Shadow's Contract effect. Remember that passive effect that made it so that pretty much we have light trait? Well, now it works for commands too. So basically if you're using your fireballs or your gravity balls, then they give you, instead of 20%, as a 50% chance with 50% MP recovery. So you're going to get half the MP that you use. But the other effect is a real good effect. So, you have the skill called Shadow Body. It buffs your, we'll go over it later again, but right now we just need to go over it for the sake of this. But it buffs your magical attack power by 12%. This one makes it so that it decreases your physical attack by 15%. Which, you know, you're a magical class, so that does not affect you in the slightest. But you buff your magical attack increase either to 15% or additional 15%. In game it says additional 15%, so I'm gonna just guess that means Shadow Body gives you 12%, This passive gives you 15%, 27% increase. Mix it with your other buff, you got the best buff of all the Aishas. Now on to Oz Sorcerer's passives. Whenever you use anchor skills, these skills include Petite Anchor, Phantom Breath. I call it Phantom Breathing, but let's just call it Phantom Breathing. It's Phantom Breath, but I'll just call it Phantom Breathing. So Petite Anchor and the Force skill, Phantom Breath, Phantom Breathing, Hell Drop, Petite Anchor Millions, and Abyssal Field. I don't know why Hell Drop is there, but you use it now. It decreases the cooldown of your skills by 10% per anchor skill you use. So if you're spamming skills like Hellstone and your Braveries, then you can use these anchor skills so that you can get their cooldowns to be decreased. The second part of the passive increases debuff effects for dark skills. So now Phantom Breathing, what it used to do was burn 6 MP for 5 seconds while it had the curse effect and decrease elemental resistance by 125. Now with Oz's Dream, what it does is decrease MP by 7 for 7 seconds, so that's more MP, and decrease elemental resistance by 200. The buff effect is the same though. Also in Oz's Dream, what it has is Aging, decreases attack power, movement speed, and additional damage. Movement speed, attack speed, and attack power by 40% and additional damage by 100%. Also Petite Anchor, the skill that decreases defense by 20%, gets buffed to 50%. Now, all this power. Remember how I said that Deathly Shadow gets buffed big time, alright? So, the first effect of the passive makes so that your Bravery skills damage increase by 12%. That's alright. Now, Deathly Shadow effect also applies to special active skills. So, let me just compare this to something real quick. So, Rune Master, Force, Phoenix, it's not Phoenix Strike. I forgot his Phoenix skill. It costs 250 MP and lasts 15 seconds, making so that his skills have a 20% chance to ignore defense. Thing is, Deathly Shadow, my girl, Sorcerer, has 20%, same as Sorcerer to ignore 100% defense all the time. So she doesn't even have to use a skill. So better than that. Next up, what we have would be the commands for Aisha. Base Aisha, she has two different special things about her. She is pretty special. Levitation. Basically, whenever you're inside the air and you press up, the up button, you can levitate by using MP. Yeah, she can pretty much just levitate. It slowly drops her. And whenever she levitates, if you're using an air combo, then you will drop faster after the command animation. Also, whenever you stay in place for a few seconds, then she regenerates 10 MP per second by standing still. Now onto the actual combos. What we have is ZZZ combo. This is just a basic ZZZ combo. You're probably not going to be using the full combo the whole time. You're probably going to be doing ZZ loop. Next, you've got ZZ up ZZ. It gets upgraded whenever you go to Dark Magician. It creates like a dark ball, but you should probably not use it because it kind of is wonky, and you can probably loop the ZZ up Z. Next, we've got XXX hold X. It shoots out 3 fireballs, then a dark ball for Dark Magician, and you probably aren't going to be using the whole thing since it KDEs, and you're probably just going to be looping the first 2. Next, you've got XX down XZ, Dark Magician's extra extension. It adds the Z, and you do 2 fireballs, and you make a magic circle that knocks them up, and then you create like some a magic sphere. You create like a magic sphere thing that kind of hits them, but it's kind of wonky. You're probably only going to be using XX, just XX in general, or XX down X. Next, you've got XX forward X. This is a base Aisha combo, stays like that. It just knocks them down with a magic sphere. It's completely useless. Next is up X. You basically just hold, you pretty much just fall from the air with a Z, and then up, you fall with your staff while falling from the air. You hit enemies with it. Then up X is single fireball, but whenever you get to Dark Magician, it gets changed to a dark ball. Next, you've got dash ZZ, smacks enemies ahead with your staff, knocking them upwards. And you got dash ZXX. It adds a dark ball at the end, yeah, and not the gravity ball. I don't know why most of her combos don't even use gravity balls. Yeah, she gets a buff, but it's still decent. Basically, she smacks enemies ahead with your staff, and then you teleport to the closest target. if they're in range, and then you release a dark ball. Next you've got dash X. It gets buffed to be dash XX whenever you get to Dark Magician. You dash, you shoot a fireball, then you make a dark ball. Next you've got dash up Z. Z, whenever you get to All Sorcerer, it adds an extra Z at the end. You cast a magic circle, and then you do a derp dive, you spin with your staff. Next we've got dash jump XX. It gets reduced to dash jump X whenever you get to Void Princess, and it shoots out a dark ball instead of 2 fireballs. Then she got her recovery combo. Also she got XX back X. Whenever you do 2 fireballs and then you retreat with a dark plasma ball. Next you've got midair plasma ball dash jump ZX. What it does, it creates a magic circle, then a dark plasma ball. Whenever you get to Void Princess, one thing that you have to say is the anchor hammer for combos ZZZ, ZZ, forward ZZ, dash ZZ, dash ZX, and up Z. It adds an anchor at the end of your wand, turning into a hammer, and it adds extra range. Extra combos, you got anchor twirl. What you do is ZZ forward ZZ. You hit your staff 3 times and you do a spin. The last spin KDs, but you basically want to be looping ZZ forward Z. It's the most easiest loop for Void Princess. You should be using that often. Now Anchor Swarm, what you have is XX up X. It creates 2 fireballs, then it creates this kind of like magic circle, but it's like a dark circle. And then you hold X, and it creates multiple anchors with the big anchor at the end. And you have super armor during that one. Alright, so now onto skills. What we got is a lot of skills for Aisha. Let's start with base, and let's go from that. Alright. So first you got teleport. It's basic. You press it and then you teleport to a location in front of you. Inside PvP you'll have penalties from using it. Whenever you use it, every time you use it, its MP consumption will increase by 25 for each use, and it has a cooldown of 4 seconds inside PvP. It has 2 traits, Light and Regenerating 1. Regenerating 1 gives you a 50% chance of regaining 20% of the MP usage. Though I would recommend this trait if it didn't have a Light trait. I would say use Light trait because the MP usage decreased to 50%, so it's a lot better. Next we've got Chain Fireball. Shoot 2 small fireballs and end with a big fireball. Enemies hit will be burned for 10 seconds. So it does mediocre damage, costs 100 MP but 90 whenever enhanced, cooldown of 6 seconds. It's pretty good. I guess it's like small iframes, and it does do some good damage. I guess 3k for like beginning, but you aren't going to be using it inside of late game, so you're going to quickly get rid of that skill. Next you've got Gust Screw. You create a pillar of fire and it does more hits when awakened. This skill is kind of meh whenever you look at it, but it does do decent damage. Empowered Gust Screw while awakened does 8k damage, so it's pretty good, but it does not launch enemies, it knocks them up, so they might not get hit by every single hit. Next we've got Gust Storm. It's pretty much Gust Screw but stronger. So you create a huge pillar of fire and an enemy's hit will be burned for 10 seconds. And enhanced makes it its MP usage is decreased by 10%. Is a bravery skill, 300 MP. When enhanced, 270 MP. Next we got Lightning Ball. You create a charged ball of lightning in one direction, and enemies will be stunned for 2 seconds, and damage and stun duration increase for 1 second if used while awakened. So 3 seconds of awakening of stun and 12 hits. 200 MP usage, cooldown in 13 seconds. Traits are critical and light, but it only does around 5k damage, so I wouldn't be using inside PvE. PvP you might use it, though it does have a lot of hits, so kind of have to decide whether or not to use it. Next we've got Meteor Call. This skill is a staple skill that you're going to be wanting to use. Yeah, you create a meteor from the sky. It's basically that, and it does around 7k damage. It's not as strong skill, but whenever you get the gigantic skill trait, it has light and gigantic. Even if you're MP trying to save MP alcoholic, then you'd still want gigantic trait because it increases the skill size to 150%, and it pretty much takes up the whole screen, so you can do a whole screen clear. Next we've got Binding Circle. This skill is not a PvE skill in the slightest. Pretty much it just binds surrounding enemies' movement. They can't move at all, like at all. They won't feel hits done. They won't get launched. They won't get anything like that. They'll only last 2 seconds, so you kind of have to like capitalize on it quick. Now that's it for base Aisha. Skills that you would probably take note of would be Teleport is staple skill, Meteor Call, staple skill, Lightning Bolt is optional, Gust Grew and Gust Storm are optional actually. I don't use Gust Storm, so with my Oscillator I don't use it, so you don't really need it, though it is a good skill if you just need raw damage. Chain Fireball only going to be using at the beginning. Now Dark Magician. First thing that I want to go over is Acceleration Aura. So Acceleration Aura is her buff. It doesn't only give just like the other Aishas a percent physical or magical attack. Instead, it gives 15% of both. Now I'm be saying she's a magical attacker. Why would she need this? It gives other buffs too. It gives you 30% movement speed, 5% jump speed, and 20% attack speed. The attack speed is the only thing that is normalized. So basically, you get 30% movement speed for free at all times if you're spamming the skill. And if you already have high movement speed, you use it, you're good. So yeah. Another thing to consider with attack speed is that it's unnormalized. I mean, no, the attack speed is normalized. So getting 20% attack speed isn't even worth it. Thing is, if you want to get the power title and then have negative 20%, remember Aisha does need around 20% attack speed for her normal skills. So what you would do would be only socket 25% and then use Acceleration Aura 24/7 so that her skills can get buffed with some extra speed. And Aisha's skills are actually influenced by speed quite a bit. Next we've got Dark Waves. This skill is just basic skill. It gives you a little curse that's 4 MP per second, but once enhanced it's 6 MP per second for 3 seconds, so it can burn 18 MP. Next you got my least favorite skill in this game. Okay, not really in this game, but for this class. Poisonous Cloud. You create a Poisonous Cloud that lasts 10 seconds. And it does decent damage, I guess. Empowered trait, it has Empowered and Gigantic. Gigantic makes it be, like, it has the same, I'm pretty sure it has the same initial look, but it actually hits more than it. So, that might be a little bit good, but it only does 5k damage that way. If you get Empowered, it does around 6k damage. Now what we've got is Aging. This is another staple skill that you're gonna want to use. Aging is really good. It gets a Force skill later on, though I don't use a Force skill personally. Aging, what it does is you throw a ball of darkness, Conjured Chain Dark Ball, that gives Aging. Aging, it gets buffed from Oz Dream. Since you've already seen the passives, you know that Oz Dream buffs it. So I already know the percentages. But yeah, it does around 6k damage, 6.5k, 7k, whatever you want to say. Its traits are light. I pick light most of the time. And then Killing Blow. I don't know if Killing Blow works with Oz Dream, so I don't use it. But what it does is it throws a ball. It drags enemies. It drags enemies that aren't in super armor. And it creates an explosion. The explosion is the thing that actually does the damage. The dragging does not do anything. The explosion does the damage. And it does actually suck in super armor enemies, though it doesn't have the biggest amount of range for it to suck. But still good. It does a lot of damage. It's good for clearing. You're going to use it along with Meteor Call. Next, what we've got is Death Field. Death Field is a whack skill, honestly. What you do is you create you call upon the Reaper, it says on the description, but pretty much just you create like a circle around you that does decent damage, and then enemies explode after a few seconds. It's a strength skill. Its 2 traits are enhanced and light. I pick light trait because enhanced is trash trait, but only does around 5k damage. And you might be saying 5k is pretty good, but okay, so the first hit it does just basic damage, and then the second hit it does splash damage, so you might be saying that's pretty good. Thing is, its range is absolute trash. If it had a gigantic trait, if the gigantic trait actually worked, if it had good range, I might use it, but it's not good. Plus, it's like if it summoned Anchor and it decreased cooldown with the passive Oz Dream passive, then I'd be like, okay, that's decent. It doesn't, so it's not that good. Mana Steel. Now this is a pretty whack skill. Whenever you get Violent Enhanced, it absorbs 30 MP, but it costs 30 MP. Whenever you awaken, it can hit 3 targets, so it's only going to be worth against more than one target. Two traits are gigantic and persistent. You kind of just have to pick between them. Skill size increase or reduce 10 KD per hit. I'd say gigantic, I guess, because I guess you already have enough KD reduction, so you don't really need it. Skill size increase will make it so it's better for catching inside PvP. Now, we got another staple skill that you're going to want to use. This is like guaranteed skill that you're going to want to use. Now, it's a tenacity skill, so you might be thinking, why would I want to use this skill? It says that it does, with useful trait and awakening, it does around 8k damage. Now you're a little bit interested, but then you're like, it doesn't really have that much range, right? Yeah, it doesn't have much range, but there's a little thing about the skill. You can cast it 3 times. So basically that's a free 24k% skill at whatever level it is, but that's pretty good. So just saying, you should probably get it and use it. And you might be saying, wait, that's not right. Let me do the little math a little bit. Float hit, let's take the useful trait. Float hits 10 times and decreases it by 85%. That's not really much. Basically going to be like 400 times 10. That's already 4k. Then we got 6 times around maybe 800. And yeah, those two add together is around 8k. I'm just doing exact quick math, and you can spam it 3 times. So it's pretty good, though. It does kind of like knock up enemies. So against smaller enemies, they might not take all the full damage, but against like bosses and things like that, it's going to be really good. 24k% damage. You're going to want to be using this skill. Next, on to Void Princess's skills. Now we got the good skills that are coming up. So we got Plasma Cutter. It has a force skill, though. Let me talk about the force skill a little bit. You probably are not going to want to use the force skill because it gives you super armor and it lasts a long time. So probably aren't going to want to use it because then you get killed. That's how you get killed inside of late game PvP, using super armor skills that are stationary. But yeah, the normal one is pretty good already. It creates multiple different rays, and whenever you awaken, it increases more rays. And it has a heavy trait and light trait. You're going to want to use heavy trait, of course. Light trait is just missing out on damage, and it does around 10k damage with the heavy trait. If you don't have the heavy trait, it does around 7k, so that's kind of a big difference. So you want to use heavy. And its final enhanced skill decreases the cooldown by 4 seconds. But yeah, this skill is going to be another staple skill for clearing, and it does pretty good damage, so you can use it for bossing or clearing. Yes, you got Petite Anchor. This skill, you're not going to be using it until you're an all sorcerer, guaranteed. It decreases MP from, it creates like a little time bomb thing. It attaches to a target and creates a time bomb, and it decreases, like, the good thing about it is that it lasts around a long time. Like, it lasts around like maybe like 4 or 5 seconds whenever it attaches to an opponent, and each hit gives a debuff, and the debuff is 5 seconds. So that means around 10 seconds of 20% defense decrease instead of like the generic just 5 seconds from like armor break or something, armor crash or armor break or whatever. But it's only 20%, though. It does get buffed whenever you get to all sorcerer, and the force is a lot better. This one is kind of a slow skill. You create it, and then it's kind of like really slow, so you're not going to want to use it until you get to all sorcerer. 2 traits are enhanced, no, not use it, so you automatically go to the other one, which is persistent. If you're using side PvP, 3 KD per hit plus force skill, that's going to be like a full KD reset or something. So yeah. Now, Phantom Breath. I call it Phantom Breathing because she says Phantom Breathing, but you know, they want to call it Phantom Breath. Fun fact, inside of Korea, it's called Phantom Breathing, so it's Phantom Breathing to me. But yeah, it does around 5k damage for a strength skill, and you might be saying, wait, we already have 24k tenacity skills. We've got high damage braveries. Why would I want to use this skill? Now, this skill, it has a little suck, you know, the good suck, that it does suck in super armor enemies if they aren't moving. So if they're not moving, if they're like not inside of like a skill animation or something, it will suck them to the middle of it, so you can mix it with other skills and it's going to be good. Now onto Hell Drop. Hell Drop, it's a nasty skill that does around 3k damage. The reason why I use it, so it's a quick skill. Once you press the skill move button, you can pretty much automatically move after it. It's pretty good. You can just automatically move, use any skills after it. So yeah. And then the 2 traits, they are Haste and Critical. Haste decreases the cooldown by 60%, making its cooldown be around 8 seconds. Critical will, of course, increase the usage to 130%, and ignore guard and defense by 50%. Next skill would be Shadow Body. Oh yeah, Shadow Body. What it does is it's a pretty good skill. That's kind of stable skill. If you've seen the what passive was Void Mistress passive, it increases this one. What it does, it increases magical attack power by 10% once enhanced is 12%. MP gain by 10% once enhanced is 13% for 7 seconds. It has a 20-second cooldown though, but you should probably be able to reduce that. That would be 4 seconds per anchor skill, so you can probably start spamming. Two traits would be light and regenerating. I honestly use regenerating because 75 is a decent number. It's around 100, of course. 40% chance of regaining 100%, 75%. And guess what? If you use the Shadow's Contract passive, there's a chance that you get 20% of the cost. So that means that you're going to be getting more than it costs if you used it sometimes. Dark Burst, this is pretty much Chain Fireball, but it shoots out 7 fireballs. But they're dark balls. So what does it? Gives you Curse for 5 seconds. It does around 4.5k once it is empowered. It has Empowered and Ruthless trait. Ruthless, cancel mana break. Empowered, increase damage to 120%. If you're going to use this move inside PvE, then Empowered. If you're going to use inside PvP, Ruthless. But yeah, that's it with Void Princess's skills. Stable skills would be Petite Anchor once you get to All Sorcerer, so technically not. It would be Plasma Cutter, Phantom Breathing, Hell Drop, pretty much all of them except for Petite Anchor and Dark Burst. Now onto the hyperactive Abyss Anchor. This skill is really good. It does 44k% damage, and pretty much it creates a giant beam from hell, and it's a giant anchor that shoots out a beam, and it's really good for clearing a whole stage. It pretty much is like one of those psychic artillery skills that clears the whole stage, so you're going to want to use it for like horizontal maps. Next we've got Transcendence. This is pretty good, I guess. She gets only, in my opinion, one new stable skill. Then we've got some options. Next we got Petite Anchor Millions. Petite Anchor is pretty much Hell Drop, but I'd say worse, though that is kind of subjective to me. Petite Anchor Millions. It creates giant tiny anchors that track down the enemy, so it's already a tracking skill. Its final enhanced skill is MP usage decrease, so it doesn't increase the speed, so it's pretty I don't know. But then its traits are critical and evil, and its cooldown is 8 seconds. Hell Drop gets 7.8 seconds. Both of them are Petite Anchor skills, so both of them trigger the Oz Dream passive. Petite Anchor Millions actually does more damage than Hell, so you kind of have to decide, do you want to do Hellstone Hell Drop Hellstone, or do you want to do Hellstone Petite Anchor Millions Hellstone? I'm going to say Hell Drop because Petite Anchor, it really has limited range on how it's going to do everything. So pretty much, if you use Phantom Breathing and Hell Drop, it'll probably hit every one of them. Petite Anchor, it might hit not every single one of them. Plus, I just like Hell Drop, you can move almost instantly. Petite Anchor, I'm pretty sure it's like a little bit longer. It's still like less than 1 second, but it's a little bit longer. So it's, I'd say just use Hell Drop, but I guess it's up to you. If you like Petite Anchor Millions, then you can use it. Be aware that this skill does not have hit stun, if I recall. Yeah, only first projectile gives hit stun, so you're not going to want to use this one inside of PvP, and if you care about hit stun inside PvE. Also, this one does have 30, that's 40 hits right there, so, be aware of inside PvP whenever, they get PvE, whenever they get random super armor after an amount of hits. Next we got a little active, Ring of Darkness. I guess it's her best active. Gives Curse for 2 seconds. It doesn't say how much the Curse actually burns. I'm gonna just probably say 3 MP per second. 50% MP usage. One thing about it is that it can't hit above you, it says on LWiki, but it can hit enemies below you. And it gets super armor trait, so it's pretty good for catching if you're gonna be using inside PvP. Inside PvE, you pretty much don't use any actives on this except for Petite Anchor mod. So next we got Ruin. Ruin does have a force skill, though, and I'd say that the force skill is actually better than the actual skill. So what it does is, I'm just gonna say a final enhanced skill, 2 hits, 2 MP per hit, and that's like 12 hits, so decent. But what does it creates a giant black hole above you that you kind of have to maintain the hole, aka what you have to do is hold the button and you're gonna stay inside the same place with super armor. And it does, with heavy trait, it's heavy and light trait. Heavy, it's going to do 17k% damage. So it's going to be pretty good, though it does put them inside of the air, so your party is going to be pissed at you. Next, we've got Abysmal Field. For some reasons, every other language is called Abyss Field, but they decided to call this one Abysmal Field inside of NA. Now, this is going to be one of your best braveries. What you've got is, it creates a portal. The portal does lag you a little bit, I will admit, but it's not like unbearable. It's just, you gotta know what to do, you know. And Anchor Collision, Final Enhanced skills just damage, so let me just say, Enhanced, it does not have a heavy. Its traits are Light and Haste. I pick Light because, you know, Haste is kind of useless on Bravery. Plus, it is an Anchor skill, so it decreases its own cooldown. 23k% damage, so yeah, that's pretty good, I'd have to say. Though, each of the Anchors actually have like a small hitbox, so against big enemies, it would be the best. Though I still use it against small enemies because it does, like, even if it gets hit, if it's 1 per wave, it's gonna do like, it's around 5k damage. Oof. But if it's 2 per wave, which is the majority of enemies, it does around 9. If it's 3 per wave, it's gonna do around 12k. If it's 4 per wave, it's gonna do around 60k. I feel like I'm scaling wrong. But then if it gets hit by all of them, it's 23k. So yeah. Now there's gonna be the big sorcerer. So what you've got is 5 force skills. I can only show you 2 of them. I'm gonna have to. I don't want to put someone else's video inside of it because I don't have the 2 that you get from grinding. So yeah, you got Aging Force. What it does, it creates a magic sphere mid-air. So what it does is it creates aging but above. I don't know, like it does hit near you too. So it's like more of a near you thing. It doesn't throw you. But the thing is, it does kind of contradict with your Awakened Will passive. So just use normal aging, I guess. That's what I would say. And this one does do less damage than the previous one, so like, don't see why you'd use the force one. Lots of people use it for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's got damage decrease or something, but I would just use normal aging because it drags them. It has the suck. It does everything good, and yeah. Next is Petite Anchor. What it does, it creates 3 petite anchors like in a shotgun fan shape, and they're faster. And it's all good. Plus, it summons 3 of them, and 3 of them can lessen them at the same time. So, what happens is Anchor Hug 5, Anchor Explosion 1 for each one of the anchors. It hugs them 5 times, and then it explodes. So that's 3 times 6 equals 18 hits. Persistent trait 3 KD. That's like quick math, 54 KD per hit, and that's like per skill pretty much. It does kind of last a while. It was not infinite, but yeah, I'd recommend you use this one too because it has more range. And we'll probably get to a range test at the end too. It has more range, and it's just better in general. It does more. It doesn't do more damage, but it does more hits. Next we got Mod Plasma Cutter. This one is the one that I say you hold it. It's pretty much like Ruin. You hold it, and it does damage. It has a heavy trait, and it's 14k heavy trait, so that's around 20k% more damage, so that's pretty good, and it's a lot slower, so I'd recommend you just use normal Plasma Cutter. Next is Hellstone. Hellstone, this one is actually completely worse. What it does is it decreases damage, well, no, that's useful. It decreases the damage with the actual skill, and you can only cast it 1 time, so it's just completely trash. What it does is it flattens your enemy. It creates like a Hellstone from above, and it flattens your enemy, so that's the only thing that's good from it. I don't know what flattening would be useful inside PvE, but I guess PvP it's something. Next, Ruin. You know that skill that's on Stormtrooper? Let me go on to Stormtrooper real quick. It's a skill, what's it called again? I think it's called Extruder, right? What they decided to do was get Extruder, increase the damage, and it has a heavy trait. And they cost the same amount, and this one has a lower cooldown, though this one does have heavy, so it kind of makes us around the same cooldown. So pretty much they gave a better Ruin, and I'm pretty sure it has more range. It has more not horizontal range, more vertical range, so it's pretty much just better. So with heavy trait, it should do around 6k damage. And it might be worse than normal Ruin, but you can cast it and then move, so it's a lot better. Alright, so that's it for all Sorcerer, except for the Hyperactive. So the Hyperactive, it's more of a bossing Hyperactive. What you do is you summon Anchor, the human version of him, and he creates like some Plasma Beams, a Dark Pearl, and an Abyssal Explosion. It has a lot of hits. It does more than 100 hits. but it does not 90, 60k% damage, so it's more than Abyss Anchor. This one is only for like, and it does have a little suction, I'm pretty sure. So it's only good for like Ad Dungeon or Drbaki Raid, I guess. But yeah, that's all the skills for Sorcerer. That was a really long video. I mean, the really long talking session. But yeah, that's it. Okay, so now I have on the screen a chart of all of VP skills. There's going to be staple skills circled in green. There's going to be skills that you can choose after the staple skills in orange. Then there's going to be cross out skills. Just please do not use them. Just don't. And then there's going to be skills that are, I guess, which is just hyperactive and extreme love skill. So yeah. Now on screen I have, basically, it's going to be Ashall's website. I'll leave this in the description. It's a useful Elsword website. It's just an ERP chart. What it is just, I'm going to be just filling the ideal ERP that you need to go for at first. And yeah. Anyways, players, this is going to be the end of this video. Be sure to leave a like and smash that subscribe button to subscribe for one more hour, for more guides like this one, for various topics, and for gaming content. This was your Elsama, and now I am logging out.